In the history of money, we often talk about gold, land, and property. But what if the most valuable asset a family could offer was a daughter? This isn't a metaphor. This is the forgotten story of the brides bound for debt, a world where a woman's future was the price of a failed harvest, a bad business deal, or a desperate loan. For centuries, in many corners of the world, a practice existed that seems unthinkable today. It went by different names, but the principle was the same. When a man couldn't pay his debts, he could offer his daughter, sister, or wife as collateral. She would be sent to the creditor's household, not as a wife in the romantic sense, but as a living guarantee for the loan. Her labor, her service, and sometimes her very life were pledged to settle a debt she never incurred. This is the story of how families pawned women as collateral, turning human beings into ledger entries. It's a story of survival, of impossible choices, and of the enduring struggle for a woman to own her own life. This wasn't a secret or shameful practice for a long time. It was a recognized part of the legal and social fabric. In ancient Mesopotamia, under the Code of Hammurabi, one of the oldest deciphered legal texts, a man could give his wife or child to work off a debt for up to 3 years. It was seen as a temporary, if harsh, solution to financial crisis. In medieval Europe, the lines were blurrier. While not always codified in law, the concept of pawning a person was understood. A nobleman might place his daughter in the household of a wealthier lord as a ward or lady-in-waiting. On the surface, it was an opportunity, but beneath it was often an unspoken agreement tied to debts, alliances, and the transfer of wealth, with the girl's marriage prospects used as the ultimate bargaining chip. Across Asia, similar customs took different forms. In pre-modern Japan, there was the practice of sending daughters to work in tea houses or textile mills to pay off family debts. In parts of China, a minor marriage could be arranged, where a young girl was transferred to her future husband's family as a servant years before the marriage, essentially as a down payment for a future alliance, often driven by the bride's family's financial need. These weren't just transactions. They were deeply embedded traditions, seen as a daughter's duty to her family. Let's imagine a girl we'll call Ilara. She is not one person, but the sum of 1,000,000 true stories. Her father, a farmer, takes a loan from a landowner to buy seed after a drought. The rains don't come. The crops fail. The landowner arrives, not with anger, but with an offer. The debt will be paused. In exchange, Ilara will come to his house to serve his family. What did this service mean? It was a life of ambiguity. She wasn't family, but she wasn't a regular servant either. She was property held in trust. Her days were filled with endless chores, from dawn until dusk. She lived under the constant, unspoken threat that if her family defaulted completely, her fate could become permanent. She could be married off to a person of the creditor's choosing or sold into servitude. The emotional weight was immense. These women were often cut off from their families, living in a stranger's home with an uncertain future. They carried the burden of their family's honor and financial survival on their shoulders. A letter from home might bring news of another bad harvest, extending her stay. Or worse, it might bring silence, leaving her to wonder if she had been forgotten, a debt paid and written off the books. The consequences of being a human collateral were devastating and lifelong. Even if the debt was eventually paid and the woman returned to her family, she was often changed forever. She might be seen as used or damaged, diminishing her prospects for a good marriage within her own community. The psychological scars ran deep. The loss of agency, the constant uncertainty, and the potential for abuse left a lasting trauma. In many cases, the woman never returned. The debt would be impossible to repay, and she would be permanently absorbed into the creditor's household, often through a forced marriage that solidified the transfer of wealth. She became a permanent solution to a temporary problem. This system also reinforced a brutal social hierarchy. It kept poor families in a cycle of debt while allowing wealthy creditors to accumulate not just wealth, but human capital. It taught society that a woman's body and future were negotiable assets. For the woman herself, she learned the hardest lesson of all, that her value was not in who she was, but what she was worth to men in a transaction. So, what happened to this practice? There was no single moment it ended. It faded slowly, challenged by changing laws, evolving economic systems, and most importantly, shifting ideas about human rights. As societies modernized, the concept of a person as property became legally and morally unacceptable. New laws were written to protect individuals from being sold or traded for debt. But the echoes of this history remain. Even today, in the darkest corners of the world, forms of debt bondage and human trafficking persist, often targeting women and girls. The idea that a person can be used to settle a financial obligation has not been completely erased. It serves as a chilling reminder that progress is not guaranteed, and the rights we have today were fought for over generations. The story of the brides bound for debt is a crucial chapter in women's history. It's a testament to the quiet resilience of countless women who navigated impossible circumstances. Remembering their story is not about dwelling on the darkness of the past, but about understanding the long, hard road to recognizing a simple, revolutionary idea that a human life should never be collateral.
I want to hear your ideas for my next video, so drop a comment below. Your support means a lot, so please smash the like button and subscribe if you haven't already.